Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to explain you what is an AI agent and really just show you some examples of the difference between an agent and a workflow. I saw this tweet a month or so back where people are like, most things that people call agents should really just be called pipelines. And this person is not wrong. A lot of people misrepresent that. And the reason behind that is because a lot of people are still learning, and that's fine. So let's learn together. Let's start with the definition of AI agents, right? So first things first, what is this? Autonomous software entities that perceive the environment, make decisions, and take actions to achieve goals. Right? This is such a boring definition. Right? I have a better one. I have a simpler one, and that you can probably understand easily. Agents are just tools or software which can perform actions independent of any predefined instruction. Right? And that's the most important part. Agents are themselves have access to a lot of things, and they can do what the user wants or can do some things that other people want or themselves what they want, right? So agent is just literally someone having an access to a lot of tools and ability to do a lot of stuff. I'm going to show you the difference between an agent and the workflow, but let's look at this in a simpler environment. So first of all, what is a workflow? Workflow simply follows a predefined sequence of tasks, right? You already know like this, and I'll show you a quick example, right? Typically used for simple processes. So for example, if you want to post something every day at 9 a.m. and you have a list of things that you want to post, you can use any workflow that is there. AI agents are do things based on the user's input and take that feedback and improve on that. This is what a workflow looks like. When a new email comes, add a row into a Google Sheet and then reply to the email. That's it. That is a predefined workflow. This will do exactly these three things every time a new email comes to my inbox. And that is exactly what a workflow would do. But an AI agent can do a lot more. Look at the email AI assistant. This, as you see, does not have a specific path. It has options. This is the agent, right? It can either send an email, read an email, or add a label to an email. Obviously, we'll test them out. If you look at the differentiation on how it looks from a format perspective, this is completely linear. You can make as long workflows as you want. I can show you a couple of examples of that, of a much more detailed workflow. But an agent will always have access to tools, have access to stuff, and will not have a predefined path. Given that we are looking at n8n, which is visual, so it does not have a predefined path, and that's super important. So what can an AI agent do? First of all, it can really adapt to changing circumstances in real time. When I say that, it simply means learn from the user. It learns from the user. Makes complex decisions based on large amounts of data. Well, technically yes and no, depending on the circumstances, depending on the user requirement. Right? So the idea is that agents can do a lot more, right? Because the point is you can actually go to ChatGPT. ChatGPT can now function like an agent because it has access to tasks, right? So if I go to ChatGPT right now and show you tasks, it technically showcases, if you come here, and then you can see scheduled tasks. These tasks are agents. So if I can just ask it to create a task to send me a story at 10 p.m. India time, right? Once I do this, it will create a task and send me a story, which is just based on like automatically going to decide what the task is going to look like and just send me a story at 10 p.m. It did not ask me for any input. This is what an agent is. It does not have a predefined path. I could have told it, send me something at 6 a.m. or send me something 3 a.m. or send me nothing and just create a random task. It would have been able to do that, right? So that's how an agent is able to do based on the user feedback. Now, if you look at it, how is all of this happening? Even search and deep research and all the other things. As you see, these are called tools, right? So what are these tools that we keep calling? Now, tools are nothing but an ability that we are giving to an agent to do something external from the environment. Now, let me simplify this a bit more. If you think about a simple GPT model or any kind of LLM model, you are just able to talk to text, right? And I can show you this as an example. This is where I am at the SDK Versal Playground. Here I can select multiple models to choose from and talk to them. Now, if you see here, right, they have the GPT model, they have the Claude models and everything else, right? But these models don't have access to any tool. So even if like Gemini Flash in Google's environment can access internet, it can't access internet here because a model technically does not have any option. If you come to Gemini, you can see it's running 2.0 Flash, right? And then all the other options. We might choose thinking experimental with apps and everything. And I can ask it anything real time. What did Trump say to Zelensky? Right? And just based on that, it will go ahead and search the web. Same model, same idea. The reason it is with apps is because this model can access external data. And again, this is Google being Google, that it can't. But let's say, give me a fun YouTube video to watch. It will go ahead and find me a fun YouTube video to watch. And that's going to be super easy. It just finds super expensive fails, try not to laugh, and whatever. This is because it has access to YouTube, it has access to maps, it has access to search, which is nothing but a tool. It has access to a tool that if the user asks something around YouTube, go ahead and use this particular tool. The same way that we have to read emails or add a label to email, and we can add like a number of them. So if we can add a YouTube tool also here, and if I create an API and add that here, it has access to stuff that it can go ahead and do. So again, it's super simple that agents have access to things which they can use to access something outside their environment. That's a lot of theoretical stuff. You understand what tools are, but let's see how does it differ in a function. So I'm going to ask this agent, tell me what the unread email is about. I just asked it that. It does not know, like there is no defined instructions. I'll open the agent and show you that I have not written any kind of a prompt and try to find my unread email from the user. As you can see, it has brought up multiple unread emails that I have. I have a test email with the subject. This is a test unread email and a couple of other verification stuff, all the promotional stuff that we have. And this is just based on its own input, right? So what if I say, send an email to the first email that you got, replying, hey, right? Now, again, I've not told it specifically, this is the first email that we're talking about, right? So based on this, can you send back an email to that? And then it has sent an email to Bahety as hey. So let's come back to my inbox, and as you can see, I have an email which came back automatically. I did not define these instructions. So if I come back here, let me hide this thing and then just zoom to the content. And if you see here, I have defined nothing. I've just said tool agent. There is no specific instruction. There is not even a single system instruction. Just the user input messages are what you have to act on. And that's how agents work. Agents just understand, okay, this exists. This person wants me to do something and I have access to these tools. Can I use these tools to do some stuff? Without instructions, without writing any instruction from me as a developer. Now, is that the way to build agents? No, you should obviously write instructions when you're building complex agent, but this is a pretty simple one. Email assistant is super simple to build and you can just use an agent without writing any instructions, and that is beautiful. But if I come here and I say when a new email comes, add a row or reply to an email, I'm just going to put this as active, right? Workflow is activated, and now I'm actually going to use this particular agent again. Now to test the workflow out, I'm just going to say send an email to akshat@akshatbahety.com saying bye bye. It automatically created the subject, the content, and sent the email. And if I come here, I can click on test work, and as you can see, it automatically triggered a complete workflow where it said, okay, add a row and reply to an email. And if you can see in the reply to email, I just said, hi, we have got your message and reply to this. This is like a standard message. Let's say you want to send out a customer support thing or something like that, right? And you can see a goodbye email is there, and technically it should have another email which is like, we have got your message, thanks to your team, and we'll get back to you. A workflow can only do these three steps. I can go to this workflow and say, now I want to reply in a much more detailed format, or I want to change a lot of these variables. This is just about explaining that this can just do these three particular steps in these three particular functions. I can't even say, okay, you know what, first add a row and then send an email, or change something, because that will need me to come back here, move these things around, add an agent. So if I want to send an email first and then add a row, I'll have to do this, come back here and connect this thing with this, right? And then again, there probably will be some errors which were dependent on each other, right? But the idea is, that's how you understand that a workflow needs to be edited every time something changes. And that's why workflows were great if you had a standardized process. So if I come back here, I can use this chart to do a lot more things. I can ask it to add a label to an email. I can send an email. I can use unread emails and like literally anything that I want. I can just ask it to do something. So I can say, read an unread email and then also send a message to Akshat. Bye, this is the last one, right? I have no messages anymore, right? I can ask it to do a couple of things at the same thing. Read an unread email. So it went and read an unread email, and then it will go ahead and send an email out also. It did both the actions without me telling it, do this first, do this second. Like I just said, do this and it will go ahead and do that. Like there are 500 emails in your inbox, and send the final goodbye message. Final goodbye, this is the last one. And that's the beauty of agents. It can just do things based on the user input. I wanted it to do something and it did this. And the ability to do that is through tools. I can give it access to much more tools. I can say, okay, instead of just this particular tool, I can give you access to maybe Google. I can give it an option to a Google search API, so it can go ahead and search and create stuff. It can use for literally anything that I want. And that's what makes agents super powerful. But there is one thing where I disagree at. It's not agents versus workflows, okay? And the reason behind that is very simple. Right now, this is a super simple agent, right? Like, it's very simple. You just want it to go ahead and send an email, get an update, or add a label and everything else. But things get complex when you want some things to happen in a specific kind of a format, right? For example, if you're sending someone money, there is a process. You need that person's bank account details. You need to input the right amount. And then based on that amount, you need to technically check your bank if that has money or not. And then send the amount using an API or an app. There is a defined process. There is nothing new that's going to be changing. Like, this process is going to stay same for as long as I can remember, right? We always need some kind of this format. So it's not agent versus workflow, it's agents plus workflow. You can't there is no debating that. But sometimes you might need a workflow also. If you can see here, it gives you an option to call an n8n workflow. You can click here and I can input a workflow here, or I can input a workflow that I have here. I have so many workflows available. I can use something like this: convert image files from URLs to reduce file size for free. This is like a template that I found online. I can come here and I select this workflow. This workflow now becomes a part of the agent. So now the agent has access to a separate workflow. Obviously, I can define here, I can select settings, I can input much more details because it requires a lot of details. But what does this help? It helps me to utilize workflows also as part of agents, right? So whenever you're thinking of solutions, it's always going to be something like this, right? If it is as complex the solution gets, and maybe we'll get to a completely agentic world in future, or maybe today to some certain extent. But agentic workflows right now are going to be a combination of everything, right? Because a lot of these workflows need a specific set of things to happen. But what can you do is you can make all those workflows abstract, right? If this is your agentic workflow, it will have a part as workflow, right? Workflow as a tool, right? And then you might also have tools which are independent, such as emails or something like that. Based on the user input, you can choose what to use, and that's the most important thing. Don't think of this as a separate thing. It's a combined effort to use agent and workflows both and deliver the best solution that is there, right? One of the best tools or workflows that is there with an agent or something is Perplexity, right? And just to give you an example, this is a ChatGPT task. We said create a task to send me a story at 10 p.m. India time. It's 10:03. It sent me a story at 10 p.m. This is like the clever merchant and the gold coins. The story does not matter. I used an agent to create the task, and it's a workflow on the back end to trigger a task every time at 10 p.m. Even the world's best organization creating all this AI uses a combination of an agent and a workflow, right? So there is not an if and or. It's good to understand the difference, but also understand that when you're delivering solutions, use both. Don't use just one thing. Don't have something like we only use agents or something like that. There is nothing like that. You have to understand that agents have their own use cases, but you need a lot of workflows which work with those agents and go from there. I hope that was clear. If you like the video, please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you understand now what an agent is, what a workflow is, and world is moving towards an agentic era. So again, this tweet went viral, and then also this is something level 3 agent system that can take action. I think we are already there. There are a lot of agents that can already take actions, right? But the idea is that it's just going to keep increasing. So you have to upscale. If you're interested to learn more, just hit the like button and subscribe to the video. I will love to see you in the next one.